a person can stay, whether it's a camp host or whether it would be an employee, but somebody to stay out there more full-time. So we're excited about that. And then finally, and one thing I would like the commission to consider is there are a lot of renovations that need to take place out at Lake Leatherwood City Park. Top on my list is the pavilion that's in such a state of disrepair. I'm in the process of getting some bids for that. But some of the other things, like the bathhouse, the visitor center, the bait house, there's been so many different proposals over the last, well, I'm sure for many years, some of them that conflict with each other, that I think it's important that maybe we establish a committee. Not that I'm looking forward to another committee, but I really think that we need to get an overall conceptual site plan for what it is that we want. And then even if the different buildings are maybe renovated or restored at separate times, I think we need a coordinated approach and know what exactly it is that we're going to do there, because what decisions we make on one building will affect what we'll do on the other. And so I think that's very important that we at least get the conceptual site plan in place and start setting money aside for the much needed renovations and such. Of course, we don't respond to public comment, and I would never respond to an employee matter outside of a private situation. So as much as I would like to respond to things that have said, I of course will not. But I will say that we are in a good place and on a good path. There's some really exciting things coming along. So thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate all your hard work. I wanted to ask her to say something. You know, the state level Parks and Recreation is Parks, Heritage, and Tourism. Is that right? The heritage part of parks is something we don't often get to. And when I think about the bathhouse and all that, I know that as a lot of those plans go forward, that, you know, remembering that even though that's not in our title, it is part of our purview. And we've
Sure.
got the you know, the History Museum in town, and we have D-Bright, I'm brain dead, what are they called? The
Preservation Society.
Preservation Society. You know, there's lots of groups we can draw on to help us with grant possibilities and matching things like that too, to get ideas. So that's good to know that the heritage thing is important to lots of groups in this town. So I think the renovation of the buildings at the park is very important, and I'm glad we're talking about it.
Well, and I think it's especially the pavilion and the bathhouse, which are both on the National Register.
Right.
And we've been, especially the pavilion, is in serious danger of collapsing.
Yeah.
I mean, in fact, it really needs to be fenced off because it's dangerous for anybody to even walk underneath it at this point.
Yeah, I'm really glad to hear you getting bids on it already.
Yes.
Reaching out. Okay,
Yes.
good. Okay. Anything else for Scott? Okay. Committee reports, trails. Carmen?
Sure. So we had our meeting 10/28 at the main stage at 6 p.m. I think we just came to the conclusion, our recommendation right now, that maintenance take precedence all over new trail builds at this time. And I also heard that they would like to establish a more formal voting members for the committee, probably at the beginning of next year. I'd like to see a representative balance of all trail user groups, though, you know, instead of maybe just one segment of trail users. Like to see everyone fully represented there, but and I'll send those notes out to anyone who wants that, and there's an audio recording available too if anybody would like to hear that. But the next meeting will be Wednesday, 11/25 at 6 p.m. at main stage. I realize that's the day before Thanksgiving, and attendance would probably be low, but I'm not sure if we'll have anything to even talk about, but it's always good to talk about things just in case, so we'll do that. And that's all I have to say.
Okay. Thank you. Any other committees want to report?
Yeah, so Sam and I met for a first meeting for the Long-Range Planning and Reports Committee Wednesday, November 4th for a bit. Really just trying to kind of come up with what can we do to try and help out the commission. What would this committee do We came up with a number of ideas, some of which I think are already outmoded. For instance, one of the things we talked about was putting together what we would want out of the director's report and out of an annual report for parks. Scott's already got an annual report, and the director's report has kind of been a lot better than it had been, let's say. We also talked about creating a calendar, just a document that would have, here are all the things that we need to get done at certain meetings during the year. And I feel like the meetings tend to creep up and we don't necessarily have an agenda, so there's financials that need to be approved 4 times a year, budget, things like that. So that's something we talked about that might be of service to the commission, just kind of something we could have and keep up to date and use as a tool to keep us on track as a commission. Let's see. We also talked about reviewing. There are some current long-range plans that are out there. Like there's things that I've never gone through but have been brought up. The Lake Leatherwood 2013 master plan. There's a trails master plan. Now, Christian had put a lot of work towards a master plan for 2020. I'm not sure, kind of, I think fell off the rails with COVID. So we talked about kind of reviewing some of those and seeing if we can bring them up to date if necessary. And yeah, there's some other things on the table. I don't know, Sam, if you had any thoughts from that meeting.
We did talk about deadlines, for example, like we should maybe have the director's report 24 hours in advance before the meeting, just so we can read it and see what you've been doing. If we have any questions, we can ask, prior, as well as submitting financial documents, so that we have them a more formal way. Like if we don't get them by a certain time, we will not vote on them, kind of circumstance, just so everyone is on the same page, and we'll have ample time to review things before we're supposed to vote on them or not. So.
Is that it?
And I could actually email this out to everyone tomorrow. I think I had sent it out in a draft form a week ago, and I've made 2 or 3 minor changes, so.
Yeah. I don't want that to sound like you're doing anything wrong, Scott. This is just an idea that.
Sure.
Yeah, I think mainly, what's happened in the past is, like the financials, for instance, would show up like 15 minutes before the meeting and no one's had a chance to look at them. So just having okay, well, if we don't have the financials, let's say 48 hours before the meeting, then they're just plain not on the agenda.
Yeah. And for the director's report, it could be a draft, it could be a rough draft, whatever, but
Sure.
it does throw some of the subjects out there, you're right, to give you time to think, oh, I got to ask Scott about this. I want to know about this before the meeting, whatever. So
Sure.
it wouldn't have to be complete, as much as like you did the draft was fine.
So it could, more informative discussion.
I like that idea.
At the meetings.
But I'll email this out to everyone
Okay,
tomorrow.
thank you.
And are you done, Dave?
Yeah.
Okay. The Finance Committee, we haven't had a chance to meet yet. Scott was out of town for a couple weeks. We have been kind of working on separate paths, trying to get things moving in the right direction. We've discussed getting a meeting put together. Scott's volunteered to sit down with Nikki and go through the QuickBooks system. And with an objective toward, by the end of the 4th quarter and going into next year, that we are able to produce our own financial reports, and we can
Good.
control that. I think scheduling them is absolutely essential. We need to be able to make a commitment to the city council when we're going to turn them over, and turn them over on time. And the only way we're going to do that is to control our own fate on that. We've got, unfortunately, we had to pull the 3rd quarter because there are just still too many little loose ends and things. I think the numbers, again, just like last time, the numbers are there, but the reporting is substandard. And if it's going to be a tool that we are going to use to report status and to plan off of, it needs to be a whole lot tighter than what we're seeing. I think the upside of it is that with the furloughs in the 2nd quarter and with the pickup in business in town over the 3rd quarter, we're actually in very good shape financially. and it seems like we're in better shape than the city may be, because we've been able to curtail spending to a great deal.
Right.
So we're actually at a very positive net number on profit and loss right now.
Oh,
So
good.
we've got some room to plan for things in the near future, some of the things that Scott wants to try to get done over the winter.
Yeah.
I think there's room in the budget to do that, and we're in good shape heading into the first quarter of next year, and we should be able to put together a good, solid budget
That's good.
to operate from.
Intuitively, I thought that should be true from how busy everybody's been and the taxes coming in, that it's good to know that it really is true, that we
Yeah.
or it seems to be, that we're,
I've also had Kim send me the original ballot language on the 8% sales tax.
oh, good.
And it's very clear that it's intended to be used as capital improvement and capital repairs to Lake Leatherwood City Park, and that's it. So we will go back and look at the way the financial reports report that and what's in each category, and we'll make adjustments as we need to. But because it won't be siphoned off into other uses, there's plenty of revenue in that stream to address some of the major issues we have, like the pavilion collapsing and bathhouse and that sort of thing.
Yeah, and the winter is a good time to do it because you have less tourists and,
At least get some of them moving, and especially on the cabins. If there are improvements that need to be made to the cabins, those are a primary revenue source for us. And in fact, cabins in the third quarter were up like 40% over last year.
wow,
So
that's good. Very good. I was thinking as we talk about committees, I know we have a hiring committee that we haven't really thought about yet. I guess we should get the hiring committee ready to get started because that'll be soon. Who else was the other one on the hiring committee? I don't remember.
it was grievance committee was the other one.
Grievance.
Oh, on the hiring committee?
I think it was me, you, and Christian Ruth.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds right. Okay. Just reminding ourselves that we need to,
Yeah, Christian, Ruth, and
Sam, need to get ourselves in the thought process that it's time to start thinking about that. And then grievance committee, we haven't, forgot about that one too. Okay. Any other committee questions, reports? Thank you, Kevin. What's next? Old business. Do we have any old business? No. New business. Sam, you want to talk about the agreement relocation of Sasquatch at Lake Leatherwood?
Yes, so Sasquatch is a piece of interactive art, or maybe it wasn't supposed to be interactive, but it has become interactive. Created by Stephen, how do you pronounce his last name?
I think it's
Feilbach.
Feilbach.
Feilbach. So he created that, and there wasn't really much of an agreement on it as far as written agreements go. So it's just been sort of up in the air what's happening with it. It does need repairs. I talked with Stephen on the phone. He said it's going to be about $3,500 to do a full repair. That includes the labor and the materials. He's going to put a very heavy-duty coat of, I mean, he knows more about it than I do. I wish he was here tonight. But it's basically the same stuff they sprayed truck liners with, so it's going to be heavy-duty. It's going to withstand a lot of